Stroke can happen at any moment and to any person. But according to research, many people experience subtle symptoms in the days before a stroke. More importantly, a 2017 study found that for people who do catch these symptoms, also called transient ischemic attacks, up to 80% of major strokes are preventable, as long as they receive immediate medical attention. By recognizing the early warning signs, it's possible to not only prevent death, but also reduce the damage if a stroke does occur, like paralysis and loss of independence from long-term damage. So today, we're looking at 7 warning signs of strokes that happen days before. These also occur during a major stroke, but can come and go in the days leading up. So, by understanding them, you may just be able to save yourself or a loved one. Remember to click the thumbs up and subscribe button to stay up to date with our latest videos. Although heart disease is a primary risk factor, only 1/3 of stroke victims have been previously diagnosed with heart issues. In fact, a staggering number of young people experience stroke, like the 37-year-old brain scientist we'll discuss in a moment, who actually understood what was going on and observed her brain and body shutting down. Stroke happens when blood flow to the brain is interrupted. There are 2 primary types: hemorrhagic stroke, when a blood vessel in the brain ruptures, and ischemic stroke, accounting for 87% of all strokes, where arteries that carry blood from your heart to your brain become blocked. So, before we get to the most commonly ignored sign, it's important to take high blood pressure as a warning sign. High blood pressure significantly elevates the risk of stroke. But blood pressure isn't static. It fluctuates constantly in response to various factors, making temporary blood pressure spikes a serious warning sign and trigger for stroke. If you already have high blood pressure, a spike can be disastrous. For example, did you know that more people die of heart attack and stroke on Christmas Day than any other day? What happens on Christmas? People are stressed, consume alcohol, and eat too much, skyrocketing blood pressure into the danger zone. Of course, improving long-term blood pressure should be the main goal, but if you're currently at high risk, be wary about how much you eat and drink in one sitting. And also, understand the impact stress can have. More on that in a moment. Diet plays a major role in keeping blood pressure under control. So be sure to stay hydrated and eat plenty of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. For more on those, you might also like to watch our video, 15 Powerful Foods to Lower Blood Pressure. We'll leave a link to that in the description box. Regular exercise is equally important, and smoking doubles the risk of stroke, so if you smoke, it's well worth quitting. The next symptom is sudden fatigue and weakness. According to Dr. Pooja Khatri from the University of Cincinnati, sudden fatigue and weakness is one of the earliest signs that people frequently ignore. Often, it's written off as tiredness due to work or stress, missing a major opportunity to prevent stroke. The key thing to look out for is if it's sudden and unexplained. We're not talking about tiredness after a workout or a long day, but a sudden and unexpected drop in your energy levels, like someone's yanked out the power cable. This can come and go in the days before a stroke, because blood supply is momentarily disrupted. So don't be afraid of raising a false alarm. If you suddenly feel exhausted with no clear explanation, it's better to be safe than sorry. Next, confusion is a serious warning sign. Take the remarkable story of Dr. Jill Bolt Taylor. At just 37 years old, she was not only a Harvard-trained brain scientist, but also found herself experiencing stroke firsthand. Dr. Bolt Taylor woke up one morning with a pounding pain behind her left eye. She initially wrote it off as a headache, but as the morning unfolded, her symptoms got worse. She drifted in and out of confusion, realizing she was having a stroke, but struggling to take action. She tried calling for help, but couldn't work the phone. When she eventually did manage to call, she couldn't formulate words. Why does this happen? Strokes disrupt the flow of blood in the brain, and depending on where the disruption occurs, speech, understanding, and decision-making can be impacted. So that's why it's so important to know the FAST rule. While confusion is most pronounced during an actual stroke, it can also happen in the days leading up with transient ischemic attacks, TIAs, or mini-strokes. These are warning shots, so to speak, where the brain experiences brief interruptions in blood flow, causing temporary confusion, trouble speaking, or understanding. A subtle cue to seek medical attention as soon as possible. Similarly, abnormal vision is a red flag. Visual disturbances can range from a complete loss of sight in one eye to more subtle changes, such as blurriness, double vision, or even trouble with depth perception. Imagine one day you're reading a book and the text starts to blur, like a sci-fi movie. Or perhaps you're walking down the street and the world seems a bit off, not as sharp or clear as it usually is. The brain's occipital lobe, located at the back of the head, is primarily responsible for vision. Thus, a stroke affecting this area can cause various visual disturbances. In Dr. Bolt Taylor's case, she describes numbers on the telephone becoming pixelated and blending into the background. So even in her moments of clarity, when she knew she needed to call for help, she struggled to see which buttons to press. Since her stroke, Dr. Bolt Taylor has become an advocate for stroke prevention, focusing largely on how stress exacerbates the risk factors for stroke. Likewise, a growing body of research is constantly uncovering new ways that stress increases the risk of stroke, influencing blood pressure, heart function, and blood vessel health. Yet it's often overlooked, so take heed and see where stress can be reduced in your life. Sleep is one of the most important factors. Ensure you get 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night to help your body and mind recover. Limit stimulants like caffeine and alcohol, as they wreak havoc with stress and mess up sleep patterns, especially in the last few hours before going to bed. Exercise and food choices also impact stress, and you may like to introduce meditation or yoga into your routine, which research shows can have positive benefits on blood pressure, reducing the risk for stroke and heart attack. Next, numbness or weakness on one side of the body. This happens because each side of the brain controls the opposite side of the body. So interference on the right side of the brain can lead to weakness in the left arm or leg. Similarly, one side of the face may droop or feel numb. It's crucial to recognize these signs and act quickly, which brings us to the acronym FAST. FAST stands for face drooping, arm weakness, speech difficulties, and time to call emergency services. This simple phrase can be a lifesaver. If you suspect someone else may be in trouble, ask them to smile. If their smile is lopsided, it could be a sign of a stroke. Ask them to raise both arms. If one arm drifts downwards or they can't raise it, get help. Ask them to repeat a simple sentence. If their speech is unclear or they're unable to speak, there's a problem. There are a few more subtle symptoms that tend to come earlier, which we'll cover next. But if any of the FAST symptoms are present, call emergency services straight away. Immediate medical attention is crucial because treatments for stroke are most effective when administered early. Medical professionals can administer clot-busting drugs, but these drugs are typically only effective within a few hours after symptoms start. In some cases, procedures to physically remove the clot might be an option. Quick intervention can not only save lives, but also significantly reduce the long-term effects of a stroke, helping preserve quality of life. Now, let's talk about a symptom that might not scream emergency at first, but can be another subtle warning sign. Dizziness or problems with coordination. Let's say you're walking to the kitchen, a path you've trekked 1,000 times. But today, something's off. Your steps falter, You might even reach out to steady yourself on a chair that isn't where you thought it was. Of course, people experience occasional imbalance for a multitude of reasons. It doesn't necessarily mean a stroke, but combined with other symptoms, noticing it can buy valuable time. Your brain is the command center for balance and coordination, and it relies on a symphony of information from the eyes, ears, and sensory nerves. When these intricate connections are interrupted, it literally throws you off balance. It could be a sudden stumble, a bout of vertigo, or an unexplained difficulty in performing coordinated movements, like trying your shoes or buttoning a shirt. This could simply be an inner ear problem or clumsiness, but it could be an early sign to seek help, so take notice. Likewise, unexplained nausea or vomiting can occur for a number of reasons, including as an early warning sign for stroke. It's another one that people often write off, but can save lives. The brain is constantly communicating with your digestive system, and when things get out of whack, it can cause nausea or vomiting. Moreover, your insular cortex is responsible for sensory processing, including taste and visceral sensations. This can also be compromised, triggering the vomiting reflex as a response to sudden sensory deprivation. If you suddenly feel sick, don't assume it's not a problem. Similarly, severe headache that comes on suddenly can be a critical warning sign. This type of headache, medically termed a sentinel headache, is often a precursor to subarachnoid hemorrhage, a type of stroke caused by bleeding on the surface of the brain. Unlike migraines, which typically develop gradually, sentinel headaches strike abruptly and with great intensity. Research indicates that up to 60% of people who suffer from a subarachnoid hemorrhage experience severe headaches in the weeks leading up to the stroke. These headaches are often described as the worst headache of their life, distinct from any previous headaches they might have had. The suddenness and severity of these headaches are key indicators that something is wrong in the brain. Even for people who regularly get headaches, this one feels different and shouldn't be ignored. Taking it a step further, fainting or seizure are alarming signals of a neurological issue. While a less common symptom, they do sometimes occur before stroke. Regardless, it's vital to seek medical attention and understand what's going on, because fainting or seizure are very serious. Finally, it's important to understand how blood clots form in the first place. For more on that, you might like to watch our video on the 7 worst foods that cause blood clots. We hope you found this useful. Click the like and subscribe buttons to see more on these topics.